And it's kind of been my thesis for a long time now that if you look at the world right now, or as it's been for the last decade or two, it's about, 80% of people going to a job every day, like a 9 to 5 job, and about 20%, maybe that's just approximate, but, doing their own thing, either through consulting work or their own business. And I really think that on the other side of this, it's going to be flipped on its head. And I think Bitcoin's going to be a big part of that. I think that AI is going to drive a lot of this growth and change. And I think that in a decade from now, probably 80% of people will be kind of doing their own thing, running their own business, just doing contract work. The cool thing about Bitcoin too is that it really adapts to this global market. Even though globalization, I think, in my mind, anyways, is dying, I think that Bitcoin actually opens up the world, the globe, to one economy. So if I needed to, and I know all five of us probably work with people in different parts of the world, helping us with different projects. We don't have like one designated worker that's doing everything. We have somebody making the thumbnails, somebody editing the videos, somebody doing this, different parts of the world. And you no longer have to go through the exchange rates country to country. You can just use Bitcoin. So I think it ties really well into the shift happening. And I think Bitcoin's going to be a pretty effective tool in that. Hi, Brandon.
What's up, gentlemen? How are you?
Hello.
Great to see you guys.
How's it going, man? Great to see
Yeah,
you.
we're just talking about what the heck we're going to be talking about, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, I wanted to actually give my insights on that. So I think that the world is going to go to, I think what hard money is going to do is it's going to make it so that we aren't getting paid for just bullshit, right? Like, think about it. Do we need to work 40 hours a week? How much of your time are you just wasting at your, like, the people listening to this? How many of you guys are actually working 40 hours at your 9 to 5? I wasn't. Half my day was just looking busy, right? And just thinking of stupid shit to do that had no value, that created nothing, that just made the management think that I was working really hard, and so I could continue to get paid. But on a hard money standard, I think there's going to be a lot more. There's going to be a lot more focus on whether or not the employees that you're paying are worth keeping. Think about it. Like we run our Maple Bitcoin channel, myself, Forrest, and Jor. We work and do everything ourselves. I know other people choose to have, let's say, I know Robin, you have an assistant, you have people working with you. But the way that we've done it is we've leaned out to a point where our content is, we come up with our own ideas. We create our own thumbnails. Our thumbnail idea is very, very simple. We don't have to really do much. It's just text. We've streamlined our business in a way that makes it so that we don't have to spend more Bitcoin than we need to. And that works out great. Of course, there are businesses who can add more value, and that's perfectly fine. That's nothing against that. But we've found a way to just get as much Bitcoin as we can, and that's our way of doing it. And I think over time, more and more personal businesses, personal brands will be doing this. You're going to see that the people who have too much overhead may start cutting down just to save more Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is hard money and you don't want to give it away. If you give it away, you're giving away your future compounding potential with that money, and you don't want to give that away. You want to keep that as long as you can. So I think that what Bitcoin is going to do again is it's going to decrease the amount of people who are just doing bullshit jobs. It's going to end that era of bullshit jobs. People are going to be working, maybe building houses and growing food, doing things that actually make a difference in the world, because that's the things. Those are the things that are going to actually make a tangible change in how the world works. And that's how I think that Bitcoin is going to change the entire world.
Yeah, I mean, the fiat system perpetuates these cycles of people will say, oh, there's easy money, there's excess liquidity in the system, and then it's tightening. And when there is easy money, when money is easy to acquire through debt or other means, it's not just workers, it's just not just the individuals that end up doing bullshit jobs. There's bullshit businesses. There's companies that can expand beyond what they, beyond the merit of their idea or of their product or service. And, you get things like Theranos, and they just, it's just a fraud, a fake it till we make it kind of thing, all funded through VC and easy money environment, the zero interest rate policy. and then you have you almost have like these cycles, and then the money tightens, and then these businesses begin to have to lay people off and say, you know what, our pie in the sky idea is actually nonsense, and then it all tightens and constricts, and you have this real instability with the job market, with the economy, based on this concept of continued growth. And that's sort of flawed as well. Like, the idea that there's just always going to be continued growth is like, is that actually reality? Like, maybe it doesn't make sense to continue to grow in one sphere if there's no natural demand for it, except that people have easy money. So Bitcoin actually brings, like, well, hard money, the idea of hard money, of capped money, of not the interest rate cycles changing everything constantly, actually brings stability and allows people to build something slowly and grow over time, and actually create something that provides value to the individual. Because if they don't, they go out of business, or they aren't able to find work as an individual. And that's actually way more stable than these kind of boom and bust cycles that are actually created by the fiat system.
I think this one, what Rajat said, was super interesting, because it got me back to how I was working before I started my whole podcast. Literally, I want to say like 30% of the time, you don't really do anything in your job. You are required to come at the workplace, and you have to work there, and you're getting paid for like 40 hours, 45 hours, 38 hours, depending on where you are and what you do. Some might even go to 50 or 60 hours. But you're not working all the time, and you're doing a lot of meetings that have no meaning whatsoever. Like, I hated those meetings, like the Monday morning meetings where we go in like a self-help group all together, and everyone says like how the weekend was and what they're doing this week, and I'm like, I don't care. Like, I don't care whatsoever what you're doing this week, if it doesn't affect my work. And so there's a lot of inefficiencies, I think, when the money is propped up. And what happens now with my business, I'm only doing exactly what makes sense and what brings my company, my family, myself value, and everything else is just like noise. And it's still even in a one person business, you find weird things that you can get rid of and make more efficient. But yeah, the bigger it gets, and the more feared it gets, and the closer it gets to the state, also, the more ridiculous it gets. Like, we show up to show up in times. Like, I think this is like a big thing, to just like be very inefficient with it.
Well, there's that cliche of the municipal roadworks, and there's 5 people standing around and 1 person digging a hole, right? And it's why is there 5 people standing around managing 1 person's work, right? It's completely, I mean, it's geared to be inefficient almost, it seems.
Yeah, the part of it, I think, is also to just keep the real estate market propped up, right? Like,
and the stock Ponzi scheme as well, right?
Yeah.
It's all part of everyone's retirement funds. They can't have that go bust.
Yeah, exactly. And then with what I meant by real estate, I get what you're saying with stocks, but what I meant with real estate is that they want us to go into the office so that there's space that's being used and occupied, and we don't have to change it to the cheapest use case for that real estate. Like, using it as a rental property is probably the worst use case that you can get, because there's a limit to how much money you can get from a tenant. Whereas if you use it as commercial, this is something that actually I used to be a realtor. For anybody who doesn't know, this is something that we went through. We did the
You were a
numbers.
realtor? I didn't know that.
I used to be. I'm not anymore. I used to be. But yeah. So the thing that we would go through is trying to find the most profitable way to use a piece of real estate, and land as a living space was not it. It was not it. It was businesses, because commercial businesses, you can charge them as much as you want to.
Yeah.
And they'll just charge their customers more. And they'll keep charging their customers more. Whereas, let's say, for example, you have a random person who has a limited income. It's not like they're getting exponentially a better income every year. They just have a fixed income, and that's how they can pay. So changing all these buildings to to residential real estate would massively knock down the value of those buildings.
Interesting.
It's crazy.
It kind of makes me think of the Office. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the American Office, but
Oh yeah.
there's a part in that where Oscar's trying to explain something to Michael about their budget and how they're below their budget and how they
yes.
need to spend more money just so they get more money next year. Like it's such a crazy
Surplus.
concept, but that's like how every business operates, especially if they're being subsidized by like a government, which is even more unfair of a market than a traditional business. But it's so true. Like you have to spend money on things you don't need just so you get allocated the same amount next year. Like it just couldn't make any less sense, but that's the world that we grew up in. I'm sure all 5 of us worked at jobs where that was kind of the case.
Yeah, look at the federal government itself, right? Sorry, Robin. I was going to say, look at the federal government itself. I mean, it's, in the United States, I'm sure they're all generally the same, right? It's like if you don't use your budget at the end of the year, you're doing whatever you can. I mean, I know a lot of pilots, like in the military or whatever, and there's like, yeah, they send us out on a mission, whatever, training runs. There's like, hey, just go, go screw around, right? We've seen George Bodine talk about it. A lot of us have talked to him or interviewed him, right? And he's like, yeah, it's a joke. End of the year, and here we go. You get the gas, go whatever. And that's just the government not incentivized to do anything for the average person. It's just a great microcosm of what we're dealing with.
Yeah, he told this great story where they had to use fuel in a chat, and he went out in this chat and he crashed that chat because he had to use it. Was an amazing story, yeah. But I love that scene of The Office. I probably have seen it already like 3 times with the lemonade stand of like, if mommy and daddy give you $5 and like you want to have $5 again next year, but you only used $4, use that $1 for something else because otherwise you only get $4 next year. And I'm like, shit, like that's so crazy.
It just creates so much waste. That's what it does. And I think that a return to a hard money standard more than anything is just going to clean up the world. We're going to be able to make whatever we want to with the 3D printing and technology that we're going to have. We're going to be able to create whatever we need, but I just feel like there's just so much waste. Like, I mean, I go to golf tournaments throughout the summer and they'll give away prizes and they think they're doing it to like promote their business with a logo on or something, but it just goes like straight into the trash and then it goes to the garbage dump. And it's like, there's no use for that in any situation in my life, but they have these budgets, these marketing budgets and these whatever budgets they have this year, they need to get the same amount. They need to spend it, essentially waste it just so they can get the same next year. It has nothing to do with like what's actually needed. What would be more beneficial? Something that's going to last 5 years or a trinket that I'm going to throw in the garbage. Even if you have to spend a little more this year and less next year, that just seems like a better business decision. And that's, to me, value-added economics. And I think that that's where we're going back to now with hard money.
It also go ahead.
Go ahead.
Forrest, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, it also points to what we are seeing as being valuable now, right? Like people are saying data is the new oil, right? And it's when you have data and you're able to aggregate it properly, you're able to find those inefficiencies and cut down on your marketing budget and see that, there's intentional spend here when it's not needed and not productive. And those businesses are able to use that. And it's the same thing for AI, right? It's all technology is to create more efficiencies. And we've been talking about governments, and maybe you could speculate that there's an intentional inefficiency in there, but it goes to show that some of the most valuable companies in the world are all data related, AI related, and that's all about creating additional efficiencies. And I think, as we've all alluded to it, we've all talked about it, but as we get more onto a hard standard monetary network, like with Bitcoin, if you are not as efficient as you can be, somebody else will just eat your lunch. There's no ability to be inefficient because there's no easy access to money. There's a real cost to the money, and you have to go and convince somebody to give that money to you. There's no other way to acquire it. It doesn't just get printed out of thin air.
I have a question for you guys. how much of the inefficiencies in corporations is because of the money printer, and how much of it is because they are just very big corporation where it's very hard to keep every single employee as efficient as like in a free man startup?
It's a great question. It's hard to answer, but I think that's what I was talking about there is with more data and like, you know, there's a I mean, Palantir is basically like a government agency, but their entire business, and same with actually Strategies, BI business, and Snowflake, they take their business is to take data and figure out where the efficiencies can be made and where they aren't. So I think you know, it's almost like I'm sure maybe you guys have had this before, but I've had managers when I worked as an employee, and it was actually inefficient them trying to micromanage and create more efficiency out of my work, and it creates more inefficiency by doing that. So I think there's a balance to be made there, but without a doubt there's going to be things that fall through the cracks even with the efficiency technology of data aggregation.
I was going to mention, I think a lot of the companies that exist today probably wouldn't exist at all, right? Let's say, for example, with fake money, you have companies like McDonald's. Oh, actually, I don't know if you guys know about this, but the biggest
Used to work at McDonald's.
beneficiaries. Sorry.
You used to work at McDonald's.
Oh yeah, I actually used to. That's the funny
No
part.
way.
I actually used to. That's so funny. I used to work at McDonald's. I used to work at Walmart. I used to work at a bunch of different banks. But one thing that I've noticed is that there was a statistic that said in the U.S. the biggest beneficiaries of SNAP, like the food stamps, are at one point number 1 and 3 were McDonald's and Walmart. So what's happening here is their wages are essentially being subsidized by money printing.
The first thing that every Bitcoiner does, and the most important activity that every Bitcoiner keeps on doing, is buying Bitcoin. And I personally use Relay to buy and sometimes also spend or sell my Bitcoin. And there are two main reasons why I do so. The first one is it's Bitcoin only. They do not do any shit coins. They do not do any cryptos, any stocks, or anything else. This is a tool, an app that is fully focused only and solely on Bitcoin. The second one is self-custody. They give you the keys to your Bitcoin the moment you buy them. You never give them the control over your Bitcoin, and you don't have to trust them because you can verify that you and only you have the keys to your Bitcoin. There's no third-party risk. There's no freezing of your assets. There's no rug pulling. There's nothing of that. Download Relay, the app, on your phone, or go to relay.app on your browser and use code Robin to save fees and get cheaper Bitcoin. I want to tell you about something very special to me. It's called microseed. If you hold your Bitcoin in self-custody, and you should, you know how critical it is to secure your seed phrase. You should not have them on paper. You should not have them on anything else than titanium. With microseed, you can engrave your 12 or 24 word seed phrase, the entire seed phrase, onto a 1-inch small washer. Yes, just one washer. All 24 words on that one washer. You can hide that thing everywhere. And even better, you don't need to buy a new kit every time you have to get a new wallet. You can make unlimited backups because microseed is not selling the washer. microseed is selling the device that stamps the washer. So you get the full kit with the device, with the washers, with the hammer, with everything you need to get started today, and you can make with that unlimited amount of backups. Go now to microseed.io.